daughter Micah, if she was coming tonight, she looked at me, she goes, oh yeah. It was like a NASCAR race, you know. Are you coming really to see the race, or are you really coming to see the crash kind of around the third bend? You know, so she's here. Thank you guys for coming out. I know it took time out of your schedules, and Joe and I both appreciate that, so thank you so much. Let me start out by saying, those of you who know me, this won't be a surprise to you at all, and those who get to know me don't have to spend much time with me to understand that I'm a bit of a planner. I don't do well with vague at all. I love details. Control freak might come out a little bit. My daughter probably thinks therapy. From the time I was young, I thought I could control everything in my life. I spent a lot of time doing that. I wasn't raised in what I would call a Christian home, but I had two cousins and a great aunt and uncle that loved the Lord. My cousin Rick, who's about 10 years older than me, who's now a pastor in Longmont, Colorado, and his mom and dad had great influence on me. I knew about Jesus at a young age. Frequently went to church, but even though I knew about Jesus, I was living a lifestyle that was pretty destructive and wild through a lot of my life. I had a plan for my life, and a lot of times it got out of control. But no matter what I went through, I always felt Jesus was pursuing me. I always felt that he was there. The only problem is I wasn't pursuing him at all. When things got really bad, which came pretty often, I would actually try and put myself around Christian people. I'd hit youth group once in a while. Jeff hit youth group once in a while. I actually went and lived with my cousin, who's the pastor, my senior year in high school. I even attended a Bible college for a semester. But I never really changed my life. I thought I could control my life. I thought I could control how much I would allow Jesus into my life. But my plan at the time didn't really include much of him. My wife Jill and I got married when I graduated Cortland College. I even did some discipleship with my father-in-law. And being that he's a pastor, I think that he probably thought, I've got to help this knucklehead somehow. So I went through some discipleship with him early in our marriage, but again, never really changed. I never really gave control of my life over to Jesus. I had my plan for my life. Me. I had. And that included huge success in the world. I wanted everything the world could offer. I had it down to the T, where I was going to live, what neighborhood, what house, what cars I was going to drive. I had it all down. God has a way of humbling us and showing us that you don't really have control. There's an old Yiddish proverb that says, man plans, God laughs. I always felt God was laughing pretty good at most of my plans. But unfortunately, it takes some hard times for us to get to know that. And it was about this time my daughters were born. Our marriage was in some pretty big trouble. Jill and I fought a lot. We just lived a lot. We'd go to church on Sundays. We'd put on the mask. We could say the right terms. We'd fit in. And then we'd go home, and we'd just live like we normally lived. There came a time where it was so bad that we actually talked about not being together again. The low point was that we actually said to each other one day, we need to leave. We need to be away from each other. I began to realize right then, my plan was not working. It just wasn't working. I was trying to control everything. not realizing that I wasn't controlling anything at all. I was losing my family. It was about that time that I went to hear a speaker at our church, and he was talking about family, roles of the father in the family, roles about what we do as males in our family. He was actually talking a lot about quality time versus quantity time. And he had a term that he said, quantity time is quality time. And I always think of Jeff when I hear that, because it still sticks in my head. And he's always like, you gotta give him one thing, man, they can walk away with it. And I walked away right there with that. But I began to see it wasn't true for only my family, but it was true for other aspects of my life also. I've been trying to give Jesus a lot of parts of my life, but I was trying to keep control of some of them still. I didn't have any control over anything at that time. The only way I could go forward, I thought, was I need something different. I need Jesus. And it was at that day, it was at that conference that I gave my life to the Lord that night and said, I'm truly going to give my everything. Everything. So I went back the next week, and I would love to tell you that the change was like, me, everything went well. And, nope, I did not throw up my hands right away. I still struggle today with the whole control thing. It's not gone away. It's better. Mike, it's better. But no, I still haven't done it. As I began to study God's Word, though, and get involved in Bible studies, there were some verses that really summarized my life up till then, and actually summarize it where I'd like to be. It's in James 4, 13, 15. It says, now listen, you say, today or tomorrow, we'll go to this or that city, spend a year there, carry on business, make money. Why, you don't even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You're just a mist that appears for a while and then vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, if it's the Lord's will, we will live and do this or that. I really felt that time that God was just creating a shift in my life. It was small shifts, it wasn't this huge shift. It was daily working through it with the control stuff. Instead of trying to control everything, I gave him a little bit of every day, and it wasn't easy. I started to get rid of some of the destructive stuff in my life, and it was pretty bad. Then I basically started feeling like he was calling me towards more productive things to filling those spaces, especially with service to him. I was a guidance counselor in the Syracuse City School District at the time, so at the church I felt, I hang out with kids all day, so I'll hang out with kids at the church. So I ended up getting involved in the youth group, and it was great. It was really fun. Soon Jill and I were leading the youth group, teaching Sunday school classes, and I found that the more I tried to follow God and what he was leading me to, the better my marriage was, the better I was. It's pretty amazing to see that God has a better plan for us than what we have for ourselves. Several years later, after attending a couple Bible studies here at Northside, first Bible study leader is here tonight. I don't know if you remember, Bob Eddy was my first Bible study leader that I attended here. And coming to visit, we started to attend here. And it was tough. It was tough. That was our family church. Jill's dad was the pastor there. He wasn't the pastor when I left, so it wasn't that bad. But we had a lot of family there, a lot of uncles, relatives, and it was difficult. But we felt God was moving us on and calling us to do other stuff. So, once we started attending, we placed our membership here. We had a faith visit. That person is sitting here too tonight. Roger Phillips came to our house and had our first faith visit. It was amazing. But we started to get involved. We worked in the youth group. I worked in the youth group. Jill got in the choir. We started, Chuck Klinger and I worked in the refuge program, which was an after-school program. And it was just awesome. And it was about this time that I started talking to Jill and saying, man, I really enjoy this stuff. I'm thinking, I don't know, I might want to do this full time. But then my little planning would kick in, and I'd go back home and go, oh, okay, let's just let that idea go. Let's let that slide right down. So, you know, I didn't think it was possible to be part of my plan. I didn't think full-time ministry was possible because it was my plan. It wasn't God's. So I began talking to my cousin Rick and Chuck Klinger, and I was asking them, what is, give me full-time ministry. What's it involved? What's it like for your family? I was just asking questions, really starting to ask questions. I also can remember this day I sat with Jeff Harrison at a football game for Casey Conifer. I was talking to him about full-time ministry. So, amazing stuff, you know. I just felt like God was pulling me to have a stronger commitment to Him. But again, my plan kind of took over. I just kept on going as a guidance counselor in the state of Syracuse. And my plan was, then I started rationalizing and saying, I'm close to retirement. I'll ride this out, and then I'll put full-time ministry. I was trying to do the safe thing. I was trying to look at finances and really started looking at that. I mean, who leaves their career in the middle of their late 40s and just decides to go into full-time ministry? I'm thinking, God, you don't want me to do that. You wouldn't want that. Finish out retirement. So I just stayed, and I became more and more frustrated at work and dissatisfied. It just wasn't fulfilling at all. I went home to Jill, and every night, I was just unloading on it. You know, I just can't take this much more, that kind of stuff. And she reminded me of something. My father died of pancreatic cancer before he even really saw retirement. I can remember Jill saying this to me, and it's in James, and she said, Scott, we're just a mist that appears for a little while and vanishes. Life's short. Still didn't work. Just kept going with my plan. I was really just couldn't surrender that control. Approximately 3 years ago, I did a backpack campaign for the school. I don't know if you remember backpack blessings and stuff. And it was about that time that Bruce, slid over one afternoon after we got done. He goes, man, we really like this. We need to do more service at this church. Like, we really need a staff member to do this kind of stuff. So I went home to Jill that day and was like, just chatting at her about it. And I was like, she goes, well, what do you think? And I go, yeah, let's get dinner. I was like, still, just couldn't fathom in my plan, that kind of thing. Again, no one makes that change in their 40s, I kept saying to myself. It was at that time that my wife came to me and said, there's a guidance job in Liverpool School District. I'd been with the district for 23 years, and my best friend was the principal, so I called him up. I said, Tony, you got a job over at Liverpool? He goes, yeah, why don't you come over, apply for it? I know you've been there 23 years, we could use you. I said, okay. So I went and applied, and I got the job. And I thought, change of scenery. That's what I need. Change of scenery. So I'm in Liverpool, and it wasn't 1 week into the job where I knew it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. I knew in my heart that I wasn't in God's plan. And I knew God didn't want me there. I felt it. So after some serious conversations with Jill, we spent a lot of nights praying and crying. Many weeks of prayer. Talking with Pastor Bruce, even talking with Greg a little bit about it. Pastor Greg. I resigned from the Liverpool School District. And I said to Jill, we're going to trust God on this. I had no idea what it was going to look like, what it was going to be. But I knew full-time ministry is what I wanted to do. And I will tell you, after being here 2 years, I don't want to do anything else. I love it. I love working with people and helping them find areas where God can really work with them. So, I just love it. And thank you for all your support and prayers. Thanks.